We are live.
Yay!
Yay!
Yes. I always feel like any celebrity who deals with substance abuse and then whether they're falling off the wagon or climbing back on the wagon, they all ought to receive a fruit basket from Robert Downey Jr. You know, just sort of the I've been there and I'm Iron Man and I say you're going to be okay, so be okay. Like
I mean, who's to say they don't? It sounds like the sort of thing he'd do.
I would totally do it. Like, if you fall off the fruit basket, you get like a little card and with a crying puppy on it saying, "Dude, it's okay. I love you still." And then you get back on. It's like a fruit basket with a pineapple.
I'd just like to point out that you said if you fall off the fruit basket, which sounds sounds like a metaphor for like failing out of gay conversion therapy.
Converting to gay?
I mean,
that's what they call it, Grandma. They call it the fruit basket when they put you in a.
I don't know how to tell you this, but I fell off the fruit basket. Oh no! You mean you're not dating women anymore?
Oh no.
On a completely different note, I do not have a project that I wanted to work on tonight, so people will have to deal with my face.
Have fun, humans. It's right there. I am reading. I've got though words. Of course, I got obsessed with the whole let's remodel the master bathroom because I am on the last painting that I need to have done before New Year's, and I always choke at the finish line and freak out and go, no, let's go do something else now. But yeah.
You could pretend that there's one more after this.
There's actually 28 more after this, and that's making it easier. But I just don't need those done by a certain time. And I haven't heard Dick from the coffee shop. I've sent them a couple of messages saying, hey, when should I come in and set up? And I haven't heard anything. So I really hope they're okay. In 2020, that's not a given.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hopefully the art wall guy is on vacation and turned his phone off. That's my hope. And at the least, I can probably head up there on Wednesday or something and just walk in the door and be like, hey. But I have to finish Copernicium, bust out the airbrush and put the glows on the rest of the radioactive ones. And then Jason's ordered me a whole bunch of little 3-inch lengths of wire. I'm going to staple those in the corners on the back so that I can just hang the top one and the rest will be like a Jacob ladder basically. And that way no one has to try and hang 90 paintings straight because that would And one last thing. There was one last. Oh, I have varnish. I need to varnish them. I never varnish my paintings, but I've used a lot of different finishes of acrylic, so it reflects weird.
And
before varnishing them, I need Jason to take final photos of them. So there's a lot to do this week.
Sounds like it. Sounds like you have your work cut out for you.
And Jason's. By the way, darling, I've managed to make minor but significant changes to every single one of these 118 paintings. So 90. Only 90 so far. Technically only 89 because I refuse to do Oganesson until he's the absolute last painting. It's like special. I didn't get shit posted for my patrons yesterday, and I haven't done a video in a couple weeks. Because Christmas.
Yes. That is understandable. It is the holidays.
Yeah. I don't know where the hell we were.
I think outside the gates of Mordor. We talked about how Tolkien hates industrialism. I remember that.
Yeah, the day revealed to their shrinking eyes, and we talked about how only he could use that phrase because it works perfectly in context, but anyone else, I'd be like, ooh.
Find it?
I think so. Like Men on the Edge of a Sleep Where Nightmare Lurks, etc.
Sounds pretty close.
Yeah, the sun was up. The hobbits had no welcome for that light.
Mm-hmm.
Familiar?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a little gap, so.
Sounds about right.
Okay. Too weary to go further, they sought for some place where they could rest. For a while they sat without speaking under the shadow of a mound of slag, but foul fumes leaked out of it, catching their throats and choking them. Gollum was the first to get up. Spluttering and cursing, he rose, and without a word or a glance at the hobbits, he crawled away on all fours. Frodo and Sam crawled after him until they came to a wide, almost circular pit, high-banked upon the west. It was cold and dead, and a foul sump of oily, many-colored ooze lay at its bottom.
Blech.
In this evil hole they cowered, hoping in its shadow to escape the attention of the eye. The day passed slowly. A great thirst troubled them, but they drank only a few drops from their bottles. Last filled in the gully, which now, as they looked back in thought, seemed to them a place of peace and beauty. The hobbits... Perspective. The hobbits took it in turn to watch. At first, tired as they were, neither of them could sleep at all. But as the sun far away was climbing down into slow-moving cloud, Sam dozed. It was Frodo's turn to be on guard. He lay back on the slope of the pit, but that did not ease the sense of burden that was on him. He looked up at the smoke-streaked sky and saw strange phantoms, dark riding shapes and faces out of the past. He lost count of time, hovering between sleep and waking, until forgetfulness came over him. Suddenly Sam woke up, thinking that he heard his master calling. It was evening. Frodo could not have called, for he had fallen asleep, and had slid down nearly to the bottom of the pit. Gollum was by him. For a moment Sam thought that he was trying to rouse Frodo. Then he saw that it was not so. Gollum was talking to himself. Smeagol was holding a debate with some other thought that used the same voice but made it hiss and squeak. A pale light and a green light alternated in his eyes as he spoke. Smeagol promised, said the first voice. Yes, yes, my precious, came the answer. We promised to save our precious, not to let him have it. Never. But it's going to him, yes, nearer every step. What's the hobbit going to do with it, we wonders? Yes, we wonders. I don't know, I can't help it. Master's got it. Smeagol promised to help the master. Yes, yes, to help the master of the precious. But if we was master, then we could help ourselves, yes, and still keep promises. But Smeagol said he would be very, very good. Nice hobbit. He took cruel rope off Smeagol's leg. He speaks nicely to me. Very, very good, eh, my precious? Let's be good. Good as fish, sweet one, but to ourselves. Not hurt the nice hobbit, of course. No, no. But the precious holds the promise, the voice of Smeagol objected. Then take it, said the other, and let's hold it ourselves. Then we shall be master, Gollum. Make the other hobbit, the nasty, suspicious hobbit, make him crawl. Yes, Gollum. But not the nice hobbit? Oh, no, not if it doesn't please us. Still, he's a Baggins, my precious. Yes, a Baggins. A Baggins stole it. He found it and he said nothing, nothing. We hate Bagginses. No, not this Baggins. Yes, every Baggins. All peoples that keep the precious. We must have it. But he'll see. He'll know. He'll take it from us. He sees. He knows. He heard us make silly promises against his orders, yes. Must take it. The wraiths are searching. Must take it. Not for him. No, sweet one. See, my precious, if we has it, then we can escape. Even from him, eh? Perhaps we grows very strong, stronger than wraiths. Lord Smeagol, Gollum the Great, the Gollum, eat fish every day, 3 times a day, fresh from the sea. Most precious Gollum. Must have it. We wants it, we wants it, we wants it. But there's 2 of them. They'll wake too quick and kill us, whined Smeagol in a last effort. Not now. Not yet. We wants it. But... And here there was a long pause, as if a new thought had wakened. Not yet, eh? Perhaps not. She might help. She might, yes. No, no, not that way, wailed Smeagol. Yes, we wants it, we wants it. Each time that the second thought spoke, Gollum's long hand crept out, slowly pawing towards Frodo, and then was drawn back with a jerk as Smeagol spoke again. Finally, both arms, with long fingers flexed and twitching, clawed towards his neck. Sam had lain still, fascinated by this debate, but watching every move that Gollum made from under his half-closed eyelids.
Just talk about how Book Sam is so much smarter than Movie Sam.
So freaking smart and, like, chill.
Just like, well, let's see what happens.
Yeah. To his simple mind, ordinary hunger, the desire to eat hobbits, had seemed the chief danger in Gollum. He realized now that it was not so. Gollum was feeling the terrible call of the ring. The Dark Lord was he, of course, but Sam wondered who she was. One of the nasty friends the little wretch had made in his wanderings, he supposed. Then he forgot the point, for things had plainly gone far enough and were getting dangerous. A great heaviness was in all his limbs, but he roused himself with an effort and sat up. Something warned him to be careful and not to reveal that he had overheard the debate, because he's really fucking smart. He let out a loud sigh and gave a huge yawn. "What's the time?" he said sleepily. Gollum sent out a long hiss through his teeth. He stood up for a moment, tense and menacing. and then he collapsed, falling forward onto all fours and crawling up the bank of the pit. "Nice hobbits, nice Sam," he said. "Sleepy heads, yes, sleepy heads. Leave good Smeagol to watch. But it's evening. Dusk is creeping. Time to go." "High time," thought Sam. "And time we parted, too." Yet it crossed his mind to wonder if indeed Gollum was not now as dangerous turned loose as kept with them. "Curse him, I wish he was choked," he muttered. He stumbled down the bank and roused his master. Strangely enough, Frodo felt refreshed. Feels refreshed.
Refreshed.
He had been dreaming. The dark shadow had passed, and a fair vision had visited him in this land of disease. Nothing remained of it in his memory, yet because of it he felt glad and lighter of heart. His burden was less heavy on him. Gollum welcomed him with dog-like delight. He chuckled and chattered, cracking his long fingers and pawing at Frodo's knees. Frodo smiled at him. "Come," he said. "You have guided us well and faithfully. This is the last stage. Bring us to the gate, and then I will not ask you to go further. Bring us to the gate, and you may go where you wish, only not to our enemies." "To the gate? Ah?" Gollum squeaked, seeming surprised and frightened. "To the gate, master says? Yes, he says so. And good Smeagol does what he asks, oh yes. But when we get closer, we'll see, perhaps. We'll see then. It won't look nice at all. Oh no, oh no." "Go on with you," said Sam. "Let's get it over." In the falling dusk they scrambled out of the pit and slowly threaded their way through the dead land. They had not gone far before they felt once more the fear that had fallen on them when the winged shapes swept over the marshes. They halted, cowering on the evil-smelling ground. But they saw nothing in the gloomy evening sky above, and soon the menace passed, high overhead, going maybe on some swift errand from Barad-dûr. After a while Gollum got up and crept forward again, muttering and shaking. About an hour after midnight the fear fell on them a third time, but it now seemed more remote, as if it were passing far above the clouds, rushing with terrible speed into the west. Gollum, however, was helpless with terror, and was convinced that they were being hunted, that their approach was known. "3 times," he whimpered. "3 times is a threat. They feel us here. They feel the Precious. The Precious is their master. We cannot go any further this way. No, it's no use. No use." Pleading and kind words were no longer of any avail. It was not until Frodo commanded him angrily and laid a hand on his sword hilt that Gollum would get up again. Then, at last, he rose with a snarl and went before them like a beaten dog. So they stumbled on through the weary end of the night, and until the coming of another day of fear they walked in silence with bowed heads, seeing nothing and hearing nothing but the wind hissing in their ears. Oi. Chapter 3. The Black Gate is closed. Before the next day dawned.
We'll close. Come back tomorrow. Sorry, go on.
Before the next day dawned, their journey to Mordor was over. The marshes and the desert were behind them. Before them, darkling under a pallid sky, the great mountains reared their threatening heads. Upon the west of Mordor marched the gloomy range of the Ephel-Duath, the mountains of shadow, and upon the north the broken peaks and barren ridges of Eredlithwy, grey as ash. But as these ranges approached one another, being indeed but parts of one great wall about the mournful plains of Lithlad and of Gorgroth, and the bitter inland sea of Nurnin amidmost, they swung out long arms northward, and between these arms was a deep defile. This was Kirith. This was Kirith Gorgor, the haunted pass, the entrance to the land of the enemy. High cliffs lowered upon either side, and thrust forward from its mouth were two sheer hills, black-boned and bare. Upon them stood the teeth of Mordor, two towers, strong and tall. In days long past they were built by the men of Gondor in their pride and power, after the overthrow of Sauron and his flight, lest he should seek to return to his old realm. But the strength of Gondor failed. And men slept, and for long years the towers stood empty. Then Sauron returned. Now the watch towers, which had fallen into decay, were repaired and filled with arms and garrisoned with ceaseless vigilance. Stony-faced they were, with dark window holes staring north and east and west, and each window was full of sleepless eyes. Across the mouth of the pass, from cliff to cliff, the Dark Lord had built a rampart of stone. In it there was a single gate of iron, and upon its battlements sentinels paced unceasingly. Beneath the hills on either side, the rock was bored into 100 caves and maggot holes. There a host of orcs lurked, ready at a signal to issue forth like black ants going to war. None could pass the teeth of Mordor and not feel their bite, unless they were summoned by Sauron, or knew the secret passwords that would open the Morannon, the black gate of his land. The two hobbits. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, the men of Gondor built the towers so Sauron couldn't come back, and that backfired.
Yeah. It's not the only things they built to keep him,
Yeah. Quite a number of things didn't go well for them. Also, do you think that the orcs get full pay for lurking, or is it just like half pay?
What's that?
Do you think the orcs get like a full salary for lurking, or is it just half pay for the lurking part and they only get their full salary if they are streaming out like ants?
I think they're enslaved. I don't think they get salaried at all.
Well, they should unionize.
They really should. But I think they get what they're given, which is basically food and a weapon, maybe some trading, or maybe they're just told, kill who we tell you to kill or die. Those are your options.
My point was just they seem to spend a lot of time lurking.
They do lurk.
And I wonder how labor intensive that is.
Right? I don't know, maybe because we're going to see Shagrat and Gorbag in a few chapters, and maybe they're a good indication of how the orcs spend their time. They're not so much lurking as just backstabbing.
Well, see, that's even more labor intensive because that's a bicep workout right there.
Right?
It's like a shake weight, but with betrayal.
You know, I don't like to think about orcs having sex lives, but they are biological creatures. So maybe that's what they're doing while they're lurking.
Yeah, I don't like that. Let's move on.
The two hobbits gazed at the towers and the wall in despair. Even from a distance they could see in the dim light the movement of the black guards upon the wall and the patrols before the gate. They lay now, peering over the edge of a rocky hollow beneath the outstretched shadow of the northmost buttress of Efelduath. Winging the heavy air in a straight flight, a crow, maybe, would have flown but a furlong from their hiding place to the black summit of the nearer tower. A faint smoke curled above it, as if fire smoldered in the hill beneath. I was confusing furlongs with... What's the other one that starts with F? Oh, it was when we were talking about the length of the rope.
Fathom. I don't know. Oh, fathom. Yeah, okay.
Furlongs and fathoms are totally different. Because furlong is the one that's 1/8 of a mile, and so it's a city block.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas fathom is like 100 feet?
I think it's only like 6 feet. Well, it might not be that. Alexa, how long is a fathom?
1 fathom is 6 feet.
6 feet.
Well, all right then. So full fathoms 5 is not that deep. That's like 30 feet. Come on, get a snorkel.
Right. Exactly. Huh.
But they're about a block away from Mordor at this point.
They're a block away from Mordor as the crow flies. As the crow maybe flies. Day came, and the fallow sun blinked over the lifeless ridges of arid Lithwy. Then suddenly the cry of brazen-throated trumpets was heard. From the watchtowers they blared, and far away from hidden holds and outposts in the hills came answering calls. And further still, remote but deep and ominous, there echoed in the hollow land beyond the mighty horn, in the hollow land beyond, the mighty horns and drums of Barad-dûr. Another dreadful day of fear and toil had come to Mordor, and the night guards were summoned to their dungeons and deep halls, and the day guards, evil-eyed and fell, were marching to their posts. Steel gleamed dimly on the battlement.
I just picture someone waking up and like, oh, another dreadful day of fear and toil.
No, put in your context. Your eyes aren't evil enough yet. There you go. But are you fell? You're evil-eyed, but are you fell?
Just giving yourself a morning pep talk. You are fell. You are evil. You are treacherous. Get out there and show them.
Get out there and lurk.
Wait. Get in there and lurk. There we go. I feel like we just wrote a Pixar short.
What they do to pass the time, and I'm like, they probably play dice games and cheat each other, and yeah.
Definitely. And then they fight, and then one of them gets killed, and then someone comes in and goes, "Hey, stop that!" Yep. And they don't.
Yeah.
I just feel like we just wrote a Pixar short about like a morning in the life of an orc.
We watched Soul yesterday, 2 days ago.
Oh yeah, how was that?
It warrants another watching. I liked it, but it felt like a simple story masking a much more complex conceptual world building of awesomeness. And I definitely missed details like yeah. It was one good watch. It'll probably be several good watches.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah. And needless to say, but I'm going to say it anyway, it was phenomenally animated. Not just like all of the tertiary stuff in the way garbage blows around and the way the light hits leaves and stuff, but all of the facial stuff, they even have some characters designed as just a line that is a squiggle that has a face that moves and emotes, and you believe them immediately. Like, it's really well done. I've always loved Pixar's animation, but I've got a new appreciation for it because Jason just watched the Clone Wars and Rebels like back to back to get up to date on Star Wars lore because he's read all the comics and we love the movies. But I would wander through the room, and first of all, Clone Wars was shitty stories. Rebels was much, much better stories, much better writing, but the animation was still garbage. It was so bad. Everyone looks like their clothes are part of their body, and they all move like marionettes, and their faces don't do anything. And so Pixar comes as a massive breath of fresh air after all that.
I can imagine.
Yeah. It was definitely fun to listen to, though. It was a good show to listen to. And they got, like, what did they get? They got Tom Baker to be one of the incidental characters that comes up every so often. It was one of those where I'm working on something else and I'm like, I know that voice. Who is that? Got IMDb it. Yeah, excellent stories. Clone Wars had some okay stories and some that were just
basically anything with Anakin I don't care about in Clone Wars.
And Padme. Oh my god, either of them they're so awful.
Literally I only watched the episodes that were about clones, and if Anakin or Padme showed up, I was like, nope, next one.
Yeah. Yeah, the clones were all delightful. I was really, really pleased with that. There was one episode that I wished they'd done as like a two-parter or something. The one where the crew that can't work well together, and then the janitor teaches them how to. And the janitor's
I very vaguely remember that.
Yeah. It could have been a really powerful arc if they'd gone ahead and explored. Because they kind of hint that the janitor talked to each of them and got them to understand what a team could be. But they skipped showing that, and I was like, yeah, that was almost good.
Yeah.
But Rebels had some moments that had me freaking out, like when fucking oh, shoot, I could remember her name until I tried to say it. She's orange.
I don't know. I haven't seen Rebels.
Yeah, but she was in Clone Wars. She's Anakin's student.
Oh, Ahsoka?
Ahsoka. So Ahsoka is fighting with Vader at one point in Rebels. And she, at that point, believes that he killed her master, and she's really, really on the war path, and she manages to smash half his mask, and she's gonna do something, I don't remember what, and he looks up and says, "Snips." And I was like, and then he tries to kill her, and you're like,
This is why we can't have nice things, Anakin.
Right. Okay.
We're actually about out of time. So we might have to leave it right there with the day coming to Gorgoroth.
Okay, hang on. Yeah, you're right. Because there's like a page before the next break, which is there. We are here, and it's there. But
yeah, let's leave it here.
Okay. Sam is going to be saying, "Well, here we are." I fucking love how Sam deals with Gollum in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand the changes for the movie, and that's fine, I get it, but, like, I take so much more joy out of him being like, "Huh, better keep an
Oh,
eye on that."
well. Looks like he might betray us for different reasons than I thought he would betray us. Interesting. I'll just
Yeah,
jot that down.
I'll just, keep that in mind in a general sort of way. Anyway, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. It makes more sense too, but they did a fine job in the movie of creating drama there, but it is still manufactured drama.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, it is time for me to go sleep.
Okay. Well, since you've watched Clone Wars anyway, go ahead and watch Rebels because it really is very fun storytelling, and I like the characters a lot.
I watched Clone Wars years ago, so I will put Rebels on my list, but no promises.
Yeah. Fair enough. And not many people are as big a stickler for animation as I am, so that might not even bother you at all.
Probably not. Yeah, I already know I'm not as big a stickler.
I know it means that there's some things I can't enjoy like other people can, but it also means that there are some things that I enjoy a lot more. Like Pixar movies.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Okay, well, unless you guys want to watch me sleep on camera, I'ma go.
Okay, I love you.
Love you too.
Cuidado.
Te amas.